I appreciate the fact I'm the last speaker and I'm holding you back from the festivities afterwards, so we'll kind of move along. My name is Alex Colic. I work for TD Bank, which, I don't know, last night when I checked it was, I think, 7th largest bank in North America. And what we're going to be talking about is moving from enterprise silos, from multiple enterprise repositories to a single repository within an enterprise. So the agenda is as follows. I just want to talk about TD Bank a bit, because if you don't understand TD Bank's growth, where we came from, you won't have the context to understand some of the decisions we made. So I'll spend a few minutes talking about TD Bank. It's not a marketing discussion or something like that, but we'll review TD Bank. We'll discuss the core problem we had to solve. We'll talk about our digital platform, which was the answer to the problem we had. We'll talk about the creation of one unified ECM service for TD. And then there's one slide about the top 10 challenges we had. Okay, so this is TD Bank in 2002. 2002, we're one of the big 5 Canadian banks. We're spread north to east, etc. You can see 18.9 billion market cap. 1,300 business locations, 42,000 employees. Pretty simple. That's 2002. 2012, you can see growth is, well, it's exponential. $71 billion in market cap, twice the number of branches, more branches in the US than in Canada, and we've doubled our workforce. And this is in a span of 10 years. And actually, we've had some more acquisitions down more of the Midwest, so the number of branches and the number of stores we have is even growing faster. So a couple of key milestones. Banking is somewhat regulated in Canada, and in 2000 they thought about amalgamating a couple of the banks. Banks wanted to do that because they figured they need to get a little bit bigger to compete, but the government decided that there's only five banks, 30 million people. It wouldn't be in the consumer's best interest. So the banks understood that if they had to grow out. Okay, 2005 we bought half of Bank North. That was our first person in the US. 2006 we had a big deal with TD Ameritrade. 2008 we bought Commerce Bank along the East Coast. 2010 South Financial in Florida. And in 2011 we bought the financial arm of Chrysler. TD is a federated environment, and we'll have to talk about federated a bit in a minute, but it's a full-service bank. We have the wealth, commercial banking, auto, retail, securities, private investment, whatever. If it's possible to do in the banking sector, TD Bank does it. What's interesting is, compared to a couple of the other banks, we're highly federated, with each line of business having their own CEO and their own CIO. They all have their own P&L, and they're running hard to deliver their business under an umbrella organization. What that does, the benefit of that is you can grow fast. If the CEO of a retail arm wants to move into a market very quick, boom, the whole business moves and they go into that market, and he's supported with that CIO. The challenge you have is that helps you grow really fast, but the end result is you got like 5 million systems, and they're not compatible. So we have something like 17 AML solutions, I don't know how many payment systems, etc. And what has happened is every LOB has built the same thing, okay? And so now that we're going into a different type of market, we've grown really large, now we're moving into a bit of stability, we're finding out this is a challenge. So over the last couple of years, we moved to more of a shared model for key components. And the digital platform is our ECM shared platform, and we've kind of standardized on, for content ingestion, it's Kofax, which brings us in our text messages, voice, documents, images, etc. Our content management system is IBM FileNet. So that manages the life cycle of our content. And our BPM solution is Pega from Pegasystems. So all three of those together make up our digital platform. So really quickly, as I said, if we look back in 2009, our current IT system, really complex, fragmented, siloed, etc. Okay? We didn't have one look of the client. If we wanted to find out what were Alex's holdings in the business, you have to go to multiple silos, customer repositories, etc. to find it out. If a client called us and said, I'd like to change my address, well, you had to do it 10 more times because everything was fragmented. But we understood that we needed to change if we were going to become a North America powerhouse. So we started an initiative, and we're trying to figure out, we want to be the a leader in customer relationship. We want to manage our risk. We're not a risk-adverse organization, but we don't go into business lines we're not comfortable with. Okay, so we manage the risk. Best run bank. We don't want to be the biggest bank, we want to be the best run bank. Meaning, we want to wow the client, and if we wow the client, well, then we'll have more clients. Okay? So we started a strategy, 4 themes. Number 2, we're going to talk about a simplify, standardize, and enforce. What also we found was, of our total IT budget, at least 70% was spent on running the business. Okay, 70% just maintaining the lights on the current system. So we have the run the business and build the business. So 70% on running it and 30% on building or changing the business. So we understood we had to kind of change that a bit. If we were to continue to grow, we can't spend all the money on just running the business. So this is our strategy in a nutshell. We take content in throughout the enterprise through Cofax. That's through fax machines. Every branch has multifunctional devices, those photocopiers. So you can slap documents on there. Tellers have scanners. Or our mobile mortgage specialists are traveling around the country, selling mortgages. They have portable scanners. So it doesn't matter what channel it's coming through, device, it's going to go through our centralized ingestion system. Everything goes into our centralized repository, which fires off business processes. So we just don't want to take the content in and, well, leave it there and dispose of it. We want to take the content in and have that content drive business processes. So once it gets into our FileNet repository, it fires off appropriate business processes. Business processes are run. Those business processes, as much as possible, are straight-through processing. And to enable straight-through processing, those business processes use rules engines, either the built-in one for Pega or iLog. All that feeds our analytics system, so we understand, how fast are we doing things, how many mortgages, for example, are being cleared, who's the fastest worker, who's the slowest worker, what step in the process is taking the most, etc. And then we can reuse that information to improve our business process. As I said, no matter where you come through, ingestion channel, on the left, it comes through, it goes through Cofax. And Cofax is really good. When the document comes into Cofax, first thing that happens is it cleans it up. If it's being skewed, it fixes it. If someone highlighted something, it takes it off. It cleans it up, then it figures out what it is. It's a mortgage document, it's a loan, etc. It does automatic classification. Then it strips the data we told Cofax to strip off. If there's any problems with the document, like, for example, Cofax can't figure out what it is. It's something someone faxed that has no recognition. Then it goes to a validation where someone can verify the data, or exception handling where they can classify the data. But all that goes through Cofax, back-end processing through FileNet, and that starts our business processes. So right now, the little green ones are where capabilities we have right now. What we're bringing on this year is email ingestion and portable devices, iPads, Androids, etc. Now for us, This digital platform is really important because we want to move the conversation that we're having with the client as front forward as possible. So for example, in the old days, you wanted a mortgage, you went to the branch, you started the process at the branch, you filled in the documents, they put it in a manila envelope, they mailed it off to some processing center. The processing center said, you know what, you got a mistake on line 56. Client didn't sign it. It would make its way to the front. You would call the client. They'd have to come into the branch, etc. What we do, or what we're trying to do here is extend that point of capture right where the client is. So if possible, we'll go to the client site with the mobile devices. We'll scan the document, we'll run the rules right at that moment, and if something hasn't been scanned or there's a document missing, we'll address it right at that point. We won't wait till the end. If a client wants to cash their checks, we'll let them scan it right at their home. They don't have to go to the ATM or go to the branch. We want it right up front. If we're doing an insurance claim and we need doctor information, what we want to do is have the portal open for the doctors so they can upload the content right from their Word doc or whatever they do on their desk right into the portal so we can run validation right at that point in time and have immediate feedback to the user. The reason we do that is we believe that we have a better, we manage the client better, we get a better rate of return the closer we are to the front. Because once it's signed, once it's processed to the back, once it's sent to the back end and errors are found, it costs a lot more to fix that than it does right up front. Okay, so getting to the siloed concept, these are all the things we wanted to do. This is our strategy. Unfortunately, every time we bought a bank, well, they come with a content repository. And so now we have the same client, but their stuff is all over the place. So where possible, we're trying to move all the different content into one system. So sometimes we buy an organization and they have content repository that's no longer supported. That stuff has to move. If we buy a repository and it's Documentum or supported FileNet, we may federate. Okay? But FileNet, Kofax, this whole digital strategy, pretty expensive. And 7th largest bank is big difference from number 1. We just don't have that IT budget to be able to, no LOB has the funding to do this on their own. So the enterprise made an initiative that will do the digital platform centrally. So we created what we call the GOLD, Kofax FileNet BPM solution. We created one team to administer the infrastructure, one team to do the architecture across the enterprise, one team to do the development. So this ECM shared service supports the enterprise, and where possible, we will migrate content into the shared infrastructure. So for example, we do consulting. We work with other LOBs about what is ECM, what is FileNet, et cetera. We implement common components. We create common components for the rest of the enterprise to use. Technology incubation, for example, we're always looking with IBM, what's the next thing down the road, et cetera. So this is what my team does. We did this because we felt that creating large enterprise ECM solutions is not easy, but after we've done it the first time, hopefully the second time, we're a little bit better when we're budgeting. We're a little bit better when we know what the schedule is. We've reduced the risk and we've improved the quality. So if we do this multiple times from a centralized location, schedule budget drop, quality increases. Oh. So these are some of the basic core components we created that we believe, well, you can't really have an ECM solution without these basic ones. Just quickly get to the next one. So as I said, we create core components that are leveraged by the enterprise. The green ones are the ones we built. The blue is on their way. So for example, fax, XML, MFDs, mobile scanners, et cetera. These are capabilities we built for the enterprise that every project can reuse. Once again, that lowers the cost for the project. Instead of everybody creating it separately, we created it once, and everybody leverages. Same thing for the FileNet DMS side. Capabilities, we created an enterprise repository, a unified entrance into the system, versioning, annotations, etc. Common components that the service has created that everybody can reuse. This is our way of getting around the fact, as I said, that you have multiple repositories. People did things differently. Now we're trying to standardize from one central location. Okay, so this is like a 5-year journey. We're on year 2.5, and we've kind of made a little shift in the last couple of months. Up to this point, we were doing all the development for the enterprise. We're shifting where now we're allowing teams throughout the enterprise to do their development, and we're moving it to more of a governance role. And the reason we're doing that is, up to this point, we've been single stack. We're doing like 2 projects, 3 projects at a time. We're limiting the growth of the service. It needed to be done at the beginning when we set it up, but now we're actually holding back this groundswell of projects that are just dying to get onto this thing so that we can transform the enterprise. So we've had to go from single stack to multiple right now. So we have every LOB doing projects, but to our standards. So I'll quickly go over the top 10 challenges. Number 1 is long-term funding. This isn't cheap, and we're really good, solid executive support in getting the service built, but then who's paying for it long run? And it costs roughly around $6 million. So we've had a little bit of challenge with long-term funding. Didn't believe how important this is, but having the right executive sponsorship is critical. Right now, the infrastructure only supports really one project at a time. So if one project says, I need exclusive access to this environment, well, they're impacting all the other environments. So we find ourselves in this neat case where we have one shared enterprise solution, which everybody wants, likes for the cost, but they really want dedicated so they can turn on services on and off whenever they want. So moving from single stack development to parallel is a little bit of a challenge with regards to our environment. Good resources are hard to find. Good resources who want to be full-timers are even harder to find. And finding resources that will work at a bank for the rate that banks pay, even harder. Okay, we're a shared service. We support everybody, but we have many different definitions of shared service throughout the enterprise. So we needed to define what we believe the shared service was. Clear service goals. What was our role in the enterprise? Every CIO had a different viewpoint, so we had to work on that. A never-ending a business funding model problem. If you have a business project out there and you find that they're doing something that you think should be done for the enterprise, it's hard to get them to pay for that. The business has a project, they want to pay for their thing. They don't want to, they're all big consumers of the enterprise, they love the enterprise, but they don't want to pay for someone else to use it. Okay, so coming up with ways to manage that, that's a challenge. Clear roles and responsibilities between the different players, between architecture, support, development, infrastructure, engineering, etc. Roles and responsibilities. One size doesn't fit all. Right now we have this gold platform, 99.999% uptime. Sometimes, people just want to put their documents in a repository. They want something a little bit more better than SharePoint, but they don't want the full solution. So we're looking at bronze. What does bronze look like right now? Cheaper costing model, but if the system goes down for a few hours, you have to live with it. And never-ending challenge is managing the business's expectation of what it costs to manage paper versus electronic. If it costs 1 cent to store paper in, for example, Iron Mountain, it's tough to justify charging the business 4 cents for sake of discussion, but we're not comparing the same thing. If you want to put paper in a repository in Iron Mountain for 30 years and never look at it, that's probably the best repository. If you want to look at that document on a regular basis, if you want to make changes to it, you want to version it, you want to annotate it, you want to use it to run your business processes, you want to pull that document out of your system, run analytics on it, then it's a different cost model. So just in summary, large bank grew very quickly, multiple repositories, very challenging for growth. We've moved to a centralized system to support our digital platform, which is really taking content in from anywhere in the enterprise, putting it into a repository, firing off a business process, running analytics on that, and then resulting from that, improving your business process. Thanks a lot.
I think you can tell from that that people respect what you've done there, Alex. Certainly from what I write a lot of stuff about, it's great to have a reality check that says, yes, it can be done, and it seems to be working in a way that pleases everybody. Thank you. Questions?
Are you migrating all your different repositories from the lines of business into one enterprise, or are you connecting to them?
I would say right now we have a decision model. And a decision model says, you know, depending on circumstances, we'll either federate or we'll migrate. Right now we've done mostly the migrate part. Okay? Not that we're averse to federating, and if we were to purchase a bank that had a up-to-date ECM service, we'd probably federate. Up to this point, that hasn't happened. Either we end up purchasing a bank where all the client data is on a NAS drive or something like that, or it's an under-supported system. At that point, we've chosen to migrate it over. What we're trying to do is we're trying to have one look of the client throughout North America. So when you open up an account at TD, you're actually opening up 2 accounts, US and Canada. So you can go shopping, do whatever you want, doesn't matter. To do that, we really can't have client data spread out all over the place. So in those circumstances, we've been migrating, which brings its own challenges. We're doing a major project right now, and every day we wish that we had federated. Okay.
Sorry, the people at the front are getting the best answers.
That's actually awesome by me. I had a question for you back on the governance side, which is technically all of this stuff makes sense, the plumbing's all there. Can you kind of describe a little bit about what your information governance process looks like, especially with such a rapid acquisition strategy?
Governance around the information, or governance about the development of applications?
Information.
Governance around the information, like access controls?
Well, for example, you're migrating a lot of content or federating a lot of content, that would presuppose, for example, that you've got consistent taxonomies and
okay.
those sorts of things to create that.
Right. We don't migrate everything. When we're doing a migration project, we actually do cleanup. And we identify the records, a subset that we want to migrate over. To your point, it is a challenge. We have an enterprise taxonomy, like an enterprise data model. So if you want to look for a client name, it's called CNAME. It's not called client's name, client name, whatever. We came up with standardized naming. When we migrate the old taxonomy to the new taxonomy so that the content still can be uniform, okay? But you know what? Like I said, we're doing this huge project migrating a repository in the US to the centralized location. And like you said, it's been a huge challenge. You got like 50 billion records. They all have to be cleaned up. Some of them don't even have a taxonomy. It's a lot of manual labor. But if you don't move it over, then you move from junk to junk. So you might as well spend the time to actually move it over, clean it up, discard what you don't need, and bring it across so that it can be used cross-border.
So when you're doing that and you're federating rather than migrating, that kind of lends then this translation between...
If we were to federate right now, we haven't federated. If we were, we do have repositories that we would not move over, we'd federate, but they're a line of business that is unique to themselves, that they can exist on their own. Okay? For example, auto finance. Okay? They sell loans to people who are not TD clients. Okay? Anybody who wants a loan can go to TD Finance. So that repository we kind of leave out and let it sit on their own. But if we were buying a retail branch, another bank, well, we want that look and feel for retail. Okay.
My question is similar. I'm just going to ask it differently. You were talking about the difficulty of finding resources. This last man was asking about taxonomies. I guess what I'm asking is about, you know, your investment in sustaining a data architecture versus a technical architecture or an infrastructure, and investing into it in a sustainable way over time. And it sounds like your budget cycle is difficult, but I'm always amazed that that's not happening yet, even though these problems are really big and your organization is very complex. There doesn't seem to be like there was in the mainframe days, data architectures, data administrators, and people who invested in understanding how you can leverage, like even Active Directory and some of these things, if you plan it out properly and do it properly. I just don't see that happening. And I wonder too if those people who have that skill set are really out there. And I wonder if the ones who are being paid enough, and if there's anybody looking for a job.
Well, I would say that is a weakness in our organization, data. Our big push in it was to create a data structure for the enterprise. So our taxonomy matches the enterprise data structure. What we are doing is we're bringing on a chief data officer at the C level. So hopefully we're bringing on a bit more oversight of the use of data. Because up till 2010, data was under the control of each LOB. So each retail, wealth, insurance, they managed their own data. There was no cross-pollination, nothing like that. But now what we're understanding is in this market, because interest rates are so low in the past, to make $1, you had to get like $1 in from the client. But with interest rates so low, to get $1, now you have to get like $10 from the client. So we're understanding that we need to understand the client a lot better. And to understand the client a lot better, we need to understand the data a lot better.